So yeah, in order for any insurance company to actually work and be profitable, it has to deny claims. It has to take in more premiums than it pays out in claims. This is really simple, and I know I've been over this a couple of times, but I'm refreshing this a little bit because I think that more people are trying to understand the math of it. And you're like, the math doesn't math. The math doesn't math because it can't. That is not possible for an insurance company to pay out dividends to shareholders. And remember, keep in mind, shareholders are right up there. They're demanding all kinds of dividends. They want to have a return. They want to see their stock portfolio go up. In order for that to happen, insurance companies have to deny claims. They don't have a choice if they want that to happen. That or they have to raise all the premiums. You understand? And at a certain point of premiums, people stop paying the premiums. At a certain point, they can only raise your deductible and your premiums so much before people, and this applies to health insurance, car insurance, it doesn't make a difference. At a certain point, the market, which is the people, can no longer afford it because it's outside of the market, right? Just like with rental properties, all these rental goombas, these slumlords running around trying to get people to pay $3,000 a month for a house, and people are like, dude, I don't even make that. How am I supposed to, like, this is the problem, right? You go beyond the market. The mass market does not make that kind of money to justify these kinds of purchases or payments. Does that make sense? Okay, so that means that by definition, if an insurance company is trying to take in money and be able to pay out the interest on all their debts that they owe, because they usually owe billions of dollars in debt typically. They own a bunch of these empty buildings, and I assure you, most buildings now, if you look at them at sunset, you'll see the sun go through. They're empty. There's nobody in those buildings. Okay, so they own a bunch of worthless real estate in a lot of cases. They own a bunch of worthless assets that don't have any actual value anymore because there aren't enough people to really do any of these kinds of things, and we're in a declining demographic, or the demographics, are declining in like 95 countries. Right, so it isn't just the U.S; it's everywhere. Right, it's regression to the mean. It's not a birth collapse. It's just regression to the mean. People don't need to have 10 kids anymore. Right, it's not like we all have a bunch of farms to run. When we have a bunch of farms to run, people have more kids. It's just how it works. Okay, so they have to take in more in premiums than they pay out in claims. Right now, insurance companies are stuck in the middle of having to pay out a lot of claims, and they can't. There is no money to do this. There is no mathematical way to do this. I have been saying this for many years. You can go find my old stuff. I have been pointing this out for a long time, that this day is coming, and now it's arriving, and people are starting to see it. There is no way to pay any of this out. There is no money to pay back all of this debt. They will have to print it out of nothing. They will have to inflate the currency. The problem is when they inflate the currency, they then have to control where the inflation goes. They can't have hyperinflation where everybody has a lot of money, because then if everybody has a lot of money, they'll pay off debt, which creates if you follow me, you know what I'm going to say next. What is an overheated economy? It means poor people are paying off too much debt. That's all that means. They no longer owe, and if people don't owe, then they're not in control anymore. And the last thing government and giant oligarchs want are a bunch of people they don't control anymore. That is the last thing they want. Okay, so if you're wondering why the math doesn't math on insurance, it's because of that. They have to take in more in premiums. The markets cannot support it anymore. The wages don't support it. None of these numbers are supported by any fundamentals anymore. It's why they ignore the fundamentals all the time. It's why your stock market bros and your trader bros that are constantly, always and forever talking about like their technicals. Even the technicals don't work anymore because none of the fundamentals match anything anymore. It's because of that. So if you're wondering why all of this stuff is falling apart, it's because of all of this. You're beyond the market.